I can get started with some introductory remarks and then we'll get going. So welcome everyone to our latest installment of our approximately monthly Zoom webinars / discussions / networking events brought to you by the DBIO Engagement Committee. So my name is Nancy Ford. I'm the privileged to be the chair this year and work with a great group of people, some of whom are here, in helping to get to these series together. So I'm just going to share my screen for a brief moment to show you how to learn more about upcoming events in case you are interested in some of them. So if you go to our DBIO homepage, which is easy to access by Googling DBIO APS, you'll see a page like this. If you click on workshops and networking, and it'll take you to a list of all the events that we've hosted in the past and are coming up as well. So here we are, August 2023, how to get involved with APS and DBIO. So you are here, have found your way to this link if you're here. Next month, we're having an event that's targeted at early career researchers. So people who are early in their faculty appointments or anticipate being in a faculty appointment, and particularly focused on the challenges and rewards of being in an interdisciplinary field like biological physics. So if you're interested in joining in for that, please go to the website and click register here. You'll get the Zoom link. October, our event is about navigating the academic job market. So for those perhaps a little earlier in the in their stage than being in a faculty position already, plan to attend this. We will have a link up for registration before too long. And you can also see the number of events and the range of events that have happened in the past. For each of these, as with today's event, we are recording the event so that if you want to revisit it later, or if you haven't been able to attend and you're interested in learning more, you can click on the link and from the past event, and you'll be taken to a YouTube video showing you what happened so you don't have to miss out. So I hope you will join us at future events if they're of interest to you. If you have suggestions for future events, we'd be really happy to hear them. And at that point, I am going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn the floor over to Margaret Chung, who is coordinating today's event. So take it away, Margaret.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Nancy. I'm Margaret Chung. I am the past chair. There's actually a position called past chair and chair line of DBIO. I'm still chairing a committee called nominating committee. So my major task as a chair of nominating committee is to come up with a slate of candidates to be on the election, and also recruit or explain what's to others about how to get involved in DBIO and APS in general. And thank you, Nancy, for opening this venue, so allowing our members to take a look, have a peek inside of what's going on interworking. And I'd be happy to show some of the lessons that I learned. And if you have any questions about being nominated or what's the role of each committee or anything else, I'm here for the Q&A. So I will be sharing my screen now. Okay. Am I sharing a screen? I think I am sharing a screen.
Yes, you are. And we can see your slides beautifully.
Okay, great. So first of all, Division of Biological Physics is under the auspice of the American Physical Society. So it's ruled by bylaws, governors. So if you go to Engage website and go to DBIO, it talk about the history of the Division of Biological Physics, started in 1973. And The compositions and definitions of the biological physics evolve. I think after a couple of decades, it has reached to equilibrium or emerged to something new. It will all depends on the membership of the DBIO. So if someone asks who's biological physics, who's not, it's actually not the question. Is that whoever you choose to be a biological physics, that is a biological physics. So the bylaws, we have that updated about 2 or 3 years ago. And it's been voted by the members to remedy a few gaps in the terms and resolve some conflicts with the APS. So we have bylaws, and it shows or defines the role of each committees, the responsibility of the executive committee members and chair lines and so on. So that is the bylaws. However, we also have a year-to-year operations that evolve through people, through time. In general, with this bylaw, if a new chair line will want to completely have a new way of governing, it is okay according to the bylaws, but we don't want that. That causes too much trouble, and it cannot really maintain a community. As a result, about 4 or 5 years ago, we put those operating procedures in writing. We, as an executive committee members. So each year, the exec committee members collectively added some of the processes that happened throughout the year. We revisit, we record, and we even vote to settle some controversial decisions. So use it as a guide to pass down to the next cycle. So the next cycle, next year, we'll have something to see instead of starting from scratch. So this process of establishing operating procedures has passed down to me. I'm probably the 4th cycle. So it has reached to equilibrium, I guess, at some point. And the construct look like this. We have a core, the exec committee members that has a voting rights to decisions, and is chaired by the chair of the exec committee. We also have chair-elect, vice chairs, and past chairs, so serving different capacities. We have standing committees, and we also have ad hoc committees. Ad hoc committees is composition and existence vary year by year, but now it reaches equilibrium that the 2 ad hocs that we have every year is a travels award committee and also the committee engagement that involve webinars, Twitters, newsletters, a lot of these activities that directly engaging with the members. And one of the important function is to organize March meetings. So the chair-elect will be the program chair of the March meeting, and then the vice chair is the co-chair of the March meeting. So they will organize or drive the most important event, I think, scientifically, to create a program and work with the APS March meeting in order to come up with the speakers, decide topics, coordinate with other divisions to come up with scientific coherent programs. And of course, we also have a close connection with the honors committee of the APS to select fellows. And one of the important functions of the exec committee is to select the members or the fellows from the that represents the DBIO. Typically, we have a quota of 4 to 6. So it depends on the size of the membership. There's a reason why we have a membership drive, because the number of fellows is proportionally directly determined by the number of membership of each division. So it's very important that if you wanted to increase the numbers of fellows, then the size of the division has to grow. Not just grow, it had to grow in a more aggressively. If we're just staggered to some numbers and the ratio will shrink, then the number will shrink as well. And we try to have a staggered members on each standing and ad hoc committees, so they won't turn over like all at once. And of course, we have connect with the physics review journals is one of the society journals. That's very important. Typically, their editor-in-chief, that's at the toppest commander, will come to division committee meetings and ask for opinions. And typically, they will reach out to us and solicit the names of the editorial board members. So you can see that exec committee actually touches all aspects of the APS, committees, fellows, journals, and also, of course, policies, funding opportunities. They wanted to know what DBIO or the physics members will want, and we collectively could form policies that will wanted to leverage a lot of the voices that our members did care about. So you can see we have the decadal report 2022. I think that's a very important report. That's the outcome from the past decades, many leadership in our field. We want to establish that the Division of Biological Physics is indeed a branch of physics, not just an afterthought. Why is it important? Because it leads to funding opportunities, it leads to hiring opportunities, it leads to a lot of the livelihood that where your physics students will go, or some of them some of our members leverage this report and successfully lobbied a category called Physics of Living Systems under US News and World for ranking. For some universities, this ranking is important, so they use this report in our effort. I was a chair at that year, and I fully endorse and provide them unwavering support to get through all these paperwork. It's like pulling teeth, but we will get it done. So it's great. And also funding opportunities. We invited program officers, telling them that, we physicists, we develop lots of good tools, but we may not know some particular disease, but we are useful. And now you can see that their funding has a lot of new calls that dedicated to tool development, but not necessarily tied to a disease and so on. So those are slow changes that we as a whole could help or benefit the outcome. Okay. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you this is where our executive committee, we have chair and chair lines, have secretary treasurers and counselors. We are this 4 years cycle. And the to the right is member at large. They have a 3-year or 2-year cycles. Currently, we have member of large, and we also have early career member large. They are having 2 years instead of 3 years. And we are going to call for nominations. We are in the process of calling nominations to be on a slate for the upcoming elections, typically fall within October and November. So after we have this, then how do we organize? So we have the exec committee, then we have many standing committees such as program chair, nominating, fellowship Delbrick, thesis prize, and the composition of the chair is defined by the bylaws. You will say, you have to have X number of APS members in it. It has to have, for example, some like who get to chair each standing committee. All the bylaws mention that. Like for nominating committee, it's the past chair who chair this particular committee, and it's important that one of the members will be recommended by the APS. So it's not also all the members' elections is decided by a small group of people. And for the Delbrook, that's basically the chair, mostly because it's an honors committee. Most of the compositions will be assigned by we can suggest names. They are non-exec committee members, so we are not directly handling the selection of fellows or awardees that is important to a APS-wide level awards. Then we have ad hoc ones like membership drive. I don't remember if you go to APS earlier this year, we have really nice totes. We have lots of giveaways, and we also got a new banner, and we thank membership and also community engagement. Like Nancy organized those monthly webinars, newsletters telling us what's going on. So we have lots of members donating their time for that. Okay. Any questions for this? So before I babble, any questions about what do we do as a committee? Is there something that over here that you're particularly interested in knowing? So I talk about program, I talk about nominating, I talk about Delbrick, I talk about fellowship. This is basically APS fellow, and dissertation prize is for have a limited eligibility for a recent graduate. Travel award, we have really overhauled the eligibility. So it's not just graduate students. Now we expand to nearly all career levels as need-based travel award. Membership mostly is for membership drive. And as you know, as I just mentioned, the number of members is important. So we need to make sure that it's keep growing. Community engagement is part of the effort to grow and maintain, keep our members informed. Early Career Award is a very new award. It's a unit level. It's not at the APS level. So these awards basically are determined by the DBIO unit-wise. Canvassing and broadening participation. This part is designated. So any of the programming or any of these chair, when they call for nominating, like myself, is not limited to my own network. So it's not I'm just going to call for my friends to run for election. We have a designated leadership to go out and make sure that its canvassing is broad and diverse, to eliminate as much personal bias as possible. Any more questions? Yeah. So each chair is in charge of arranging the meeting.
Margaret,
Yes.
it looks
yes,
like
yes.
Oren has his hand up.
Yes, Oren.
Just a quick question for all of these committees, the people who are on them, how do they get selected? Do they volunteer for them, or the executive committee choose them? How do the membership of these committees work?
Great question. So the bylaws dictate the majority of how the standing committee is being decided, such as program committee, NAMA committee, fellowship, Delbrook. A few standing committees, such as Delbrook Fellowship, dissertation, has a maximum number of members on it. But for program committee, it does not have a maximum of a number. It has a minimum number of people on it. So you include chair-elect, vice chair, 2-member at-large, secretary and treasury, but usually we will enlist one of the physical review letter editors as a to be part of it, to make sure that our program is broad. And sometimes we have volunteers who wish to be more engaged, then they can reach out to the chair, and chair will be John Shravis, because John Shravis is the current chair of a chair line. He get to decide who's in the committee according to the constraint. And for the membership committee, is the composition is delegated to Nancy. So Nancy has the full authority to decide who get to involve in what community engagement, but within her committee.
And maybe I'll just add for others here, we have a lot of ad hoc members on the community engagement that are not listed here. So the ones on this are simply the members who are from the executive that are on Margaret's slide, but there's a number of members who aren't on the executive, including Oren, who's been a great member of the committee last year and this. So there's certainly opportunity to get involved in at least some of these. I can speak only from the community engagement standpoint, but basically people have approached me, us, the chair of DBIO, and said, I'm interested in getting involved, and they get referred to me, and then we discuss how that can happen.
Thank you. This slide has not been updated since March, so I'm sure that this is and it's not up to date. I apologize for that. And counselor is our liaison between our unit and then the APS wide. They attended APS wide's council meeting and they passes our major concern up to the society level and make decisions. So a lot of things relating to journals, relating to March meetings, particular March meeting is also need a lot of counselors' attention to make sure that our membership's concern will addressed regarding to space, program, and so on. So it's been a great help. Any more questions? Okay. So we go by operating procedures and bylaws. We come from different background, different perspective, different priorities. So very often there are different opinions that may not in agreement with one another. So I would say the committee meeting is a like glorified departmental meeting. If you have served on a department committee, then you probably know how that works. Everyone had their own opinion being heard, agree to disagree. But at the end, I think by the end of the day is the bigger picture. What benefits our member is the most important aspect. And we're trying to come up with a solution that can move the project forward. Okay. So patience is key. And we try to do our best for effective communications. Over communication is not a problem. I think not communicating creates a gap in communications, and that usually cause delays. So very often I think is the chair of the committee, chair of the executive committee, usually are making sure that the essential, there's a person to be responsible, and that is the person to be responsible. Okay, so we do, even though it's kind of democratic, but at the end will be a person who's responsible for all the decisions. Okay, but we have this. All right, we have expectation of professional conduct that's actually being described, and APS has ethicals, guidelines, selection guidelines. And we also wanted to promote equity and broadening participation in DBIO. And here we do have a lot of the rule of basic these write-ups in operating procedures to ensure all the criteria for selections has been considered and so on. So our best way to achieve diverse pool is to make sure that the accessibility is guaranteed and this process is inclusive and so on. I apologize for that. The kids haven't gone to school yet. All right, so we have a timeline that usually runs from April to January, and we do have the operation and procedures that tell like each committee chair what to do. We have fundraising year round, and usually comes on March, after March meeting immediately, then we have fellow selections and then March meeting program. And now we at the end of the year is about nomination. So this is reason why this webinar happens around in August. So we are in the season for nomination. And here is one of the major slides. We actually a few position opens. As a vice chair, it's a 4-year line through chair lines. You go first elected as vice chair, chair the fellowship committee, and then go to chair-elect, chair the program committee, and then become a program and become a chair. That was a chair of the entire DBIO, and then past chair like myself now, chair the nominating committee. Then get cycle through 4 years. Then we have 2 member large to 3 years. Mostly are more mid-career scientists. And now we have a change of bylaws. We can incorporate early career members that cycle to 2 years. And it begins at the conclusion of March meeting for these positions. And the nomination deadline is this week. until a candidate is identified. I also put a Google Sheet to the chat. You can welcome to self-nominate yourself or nominate somebody else. Then the committee will decide and reach out for more information. Then we'll come up with a slate at the end of October. Executive committee will review it and then go out for election. Okay, this is my last slide. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Margaret. Yeah, so now's the chance to ask questions, any that you have, small, large. How do you want to get involved? What are you interested in doing? Did the slides answer any questions you might have had when you came here, or you want to learn more for various career levels or whatever? It's a chance for open discussion and Q&A. So you can unmute and ask. You can put your question in the chat. If you want to, you can send it to everyone so we can all see. If you're a bit shy and you don't want to be associated with your question, you can send it to just me or just Margaret and we'll read it out. Yeah. Yeah, Nikhil.
Nikhil, you're raising hand. Yeah.
So I was wondering, similar to other divisions, is it possible to organize some workshops before the actual March meeting starts? I know that the polymer physics division always does this, and some other, and I know a lot of people are transitioning to biophysics, and if there is something we can do, even like 4-hour workshop, if that's possible.
What kind of workshop will you, because there is many, I mean, online workshop, or is it, so there are two things. That workshop is a formal name from the APS that happens on a Sunday, right? Sunday, there's a tour workshop. And that workshop is part of the APS March meeting organization. So if you wanted to suggest a workshop, then usually the deadline is around June. And the person who contact is the program chair. And in DBIO, the program chair is the chair-elect. And during this time, chair-elect, like, we will send out emails to the APS DBIO members to come up with suggestions of topics of workshop. Then it will be a reviewing process and so on. Are you referring to this one or something else?
No, yeah, I was referring to this one. I was just not aware of the procedure. I was thinking more like AlphaFold, there is a lot of excitement. So just teach, students and other people how to use AlphaFold and, model your own proteins of interest, something like that.
I think this is an excellent idea, is because DBIO, we send out 2 different emails. Maybe we should combine that into 2. One email is about invited session, focus session, and then we recruit organizers to do the meeting, organize the meeting. This is our 2nd year, is very successful. And then around June, we send out another email to solicit the topics for workshops. So perhaps we can combine these 2 in one email. But we do that every year. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Owen, you have a question?
Yeah, thanks. My question is more in general for people who are not already familiar with the executive committee and DBIO. If they want to get involved and they don't really know anybody, what is the best place for them to go to look for resources? Like, if I go to like the Engage DBIO site, I can see a list of members of the committee. Should they like try to email people, or what is the best thing for people who want to get involved to do?
This is an excellent question. And Actually, I don't think we have a mechanism. Like, for example, for a person and can just like have a survey. This is actually slipped my attention. I actually promised to do a survey of our membership about their inquiry, but that I slipped my mind. So I will do that after this email. So this is one thing I have to just say the buck responsibility wise is my responsibility because I forgot to do that. But in case that if anybody wanted to go in and reach out, who is the first person to reach out?
I mean, I would suggest that if you recognize the name of anyone on the list, email them, because then there's someone that's sort of a point of professional contact or whatever. But if not, if there's someone who's doing like involved in one of the committees you find particularly interesting, like for example, engagement, emailing the chair of the committee and saying you're interested in getting involved in DBIO and you saw their name on the engagement or on the DBIO list of executive members or whatever, do they have a chance to learn more? I mean, we're all busy, right? So don't take a lack of response from someone as a, oh my gosh, I should never get involved in APS. But I know when so I'm an executive member at large, and I was approached about putting my name forward for it. And I really didn't know how the executive functioned. I'd been to a couple of March meetings. I've been an APS member for a really long time, but hadn't managed to get to very many March meetings. And so I found it really helpful to have a meeting with just on Zoom with the people who were suggesting to me that I should put my name forward to learn more about it. What was the time commitment like? What were you involved with? How did you get assigned to committees? What was the workload like? All these things right there. So it's definitely useful to reach out. And then
Yeah, I agree with
if you're
Nancy.
willing to stand for election, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be doing the position, because there's usually like twice as many people up for election as there are positions, and the nominating committee has been doing a fantastic job at getting really strong applicants. Like I found it really difficult to choose recently among the people because they all seem very excellent. But the operation of DBIO relies on people stepping up and being willing to put their name forward. So.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking about different venues because I'm also mirroring my own path. I felt like because the exec committee only have 12 people there, it's just not broad enough. So in order to broaden the involvement, I found that being on the program committee, like for example, suggesting organizing focus topics or suggesting to chair organize invited sessions will be extremely helpful, because in recent years we have really democratic this process, like the organization of the scientific membership is involved not only the program committee, but also about 20-ish focus session organizers who solicit abstract, sort the programs. And a lot of during these times, you get to interact, engage with people established or even early career or even postdocs who wish to make for connections. So the connection comes from scientific interest. That found is quite organic, because you go in, most of the at least that you have some common interest in science, even though we don't know each other, but we might know the work. That close enough to have some collaborations or nucleations around organizing focus sessions, inviting, let's invited speakers, co-chairing. They get an opportunity to start to know people that outside your comfort zone or network, and started to nucleate your own field. So I usually used to see this APS as like a scaffold. And then each scaffold, once you latch on something, then you can start nucleate. And it's a good, the benefit is you can nucleate around these topics based on scientific interest, either within DBIO, or you can have a co-chairing sessions with other divisions. I found that's very rewarding. So coming from surface level, science level, those are good ways to do it. Is that a good enough? I'm not sure if it's good enough process. It is a challenge. We have 2,000-ish members, right? How to keep them engaged is one question, but on the other hand, how do we probe the interest from the members that they are interested in serving? That needs to be done. Not yet done.
Did that answer your question, Oren? Awesome. Other questions from people? I guess another suggestion I'll make while you think if you have questions that you can ask would be also just to think about what you might be interested in bringing to DBIO. Like there's lots of tasks that have to get done that are prescribed by the bylaws and are the same every year. But if you have an idea for something a little different, like for example, a workshop, okay, great. So then bring that to the program committee. Or if you want to have a new event or workshop or networking thing for members, bring it to the engagement committee. And usually with these things, at least for our engagement committee, I'll ask you if you want to help organize it, because it's best to have these things done by people who are passionate about them. So maybe there's something that we're not doing right now that you wish we were, and there's certainly a possibility of having that happen. It all depends on resources, sustainability, and all that kind of thing. But
I think I'll stop share. And I will put my emails here.
and if any of you are not yet faculty members, or maybe I shouldn't even say yet, because maybe that's not your desired trajectory, which is totally okay. But if you're more junior in your career, there's also opportunities. Like there's the early career members of the executive, but then there's also opportunities to get involved in the various committees. Like for example, the Community Engagement Committee, we have a postdoc member and a graduate student member, as well as faculty at various levels. We don't have anyone from outside academia, but that would be great to have.
I will count one now in the national lab.
Okay, there we go. I'll count you, Margaret. You're sort of joint, right? Aren't you
Yeah.
also University of Washington?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I also mentioned is a great way to build career portfolio. I started out at APS DBIO when I was assistant professors as a member of large. Before that, when I was a graduate student, I participated in March meetings, submit papers and physical review. That's my professional engagement. But once I started my own independent research, I realized networking is important, because a lot of the opportunities comes with networking, and it's just very difficult to access those if in a university that biological physics may not be the major branch in the physics department. So coming at the DBIO, you get to see other biological physicists, can coordinate and can organize a session. There's a platform to grow professionally. You can share informations. I think a lot of my soft skills has been developed at these community. How to, I think the most useful skill is how to come up with a decision that takes everybody's opinions, but not necessarily contradict the interests. So coming up a solution in an open-ended and often conflicting Serenio. I think that is a great skills I learned by serving as a committee member here. So if you are interested in these problem solving skills that is hard to come by, being in this professional setting is wonderful.
Any other questions or comments from people? And if not, then we can wrap things up. Margaret put her contact information in the chat if you have questions and want to follow up, and also the link to the Google form for indicating your interest in being considered for a position. I think the link she'd also written out on one of the slides. So if you're watching a recording of this and don't have access to the chat, you can go back to the slide and copy down the information from there. Anyway, so thank you everyone for joining us for today's meeting. And thank you very much to Margaret for providing all the information. And
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, everyone. Hope to hear from you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Hope it was useful. Bye.